Baldur's Gate 3 has recently received its final patch, and after going back to test some things out and partaking in a few early battles, I was reminded of the old meme within the community that Shadowheart can never land an attack to save her life. No, quite literally Shadowheart. I don't want to harsh your vibe there, but your life is on the line here. You gotta lock it in just a little bit. However, upon playing the game a bit more, I think I can confirm that while this meme is funny, it is just a meme. It has no statistical weight. Shadowheart doesn't miss significantly more than any other character. And that's because everyone misses all the time. He's literally right in front of you. What are you doing? I'll be honest, after the supposed greatest wizard of the age whiffed his third firebolt in a row, I was starting to question my own sanity a bit. So I decided to dig into the math a little bit. And when I did, I realized that the accuracy system in this game and the addition of Dungeons and Dragons that it's directly based on is completely broken. Today, I will not only be breaking down all the math involved in actually hitting your target in D&D, but will also be telling you how to make your own games at least 45% more fun. Richard, hit that intro. So, let me ask you a simple question. You are a basic, low-level fighter going toe-to-toe with a goblin, one of the most basic enemies in the game. As a fighter, the only thing that you can really do at low levels is hit things, and you only get one attack per turn. If you swing on the goblin and miss, you pretty much wasted your whole turn. So with that in mind, what are the odds that you actually hit that goblin? Place your bets in the comments down below. Okay, let's do some math. For those who don't know, Baldur's Gate 3 is based on the tabletop game Dungeons and Dragons, which uses dice to simulate random events like accuracy and damage. In order to find out if your attack hits, you need to know two things. The first is the armor class of your opponent, or AC. This is the number that you need to meet or beat in order to land an attack. If you roll less than this number, you miss, you lose, you get nothing. Good day, sir! And the second thing you need to know is your own attack bonus. This is determined by your own base stats and the properties of the weapon or spell that you're using. So if you're a level 3 fighter wielding a longsword, you probably have a strength modifier of +3, and your proficiency bonus is +2, so your total attack bonus is +5. And assuming that you're using a standard method for generating your stats and have allocated them properly, this is probably going to be your attack bonus regardless of which class you choose. Whenever you want to attack an enemy, you start by rolling a 20-sided die, or a d20. Then add your attack bonus to whatever you rolled. If that number is greater than or equal to the AC of the monster you're attacking, then congratulations, you have hit. Now we need to work out the odds that this happens. Well, we know that on a 20-sided die, there are 20 possible outcomes. You can roll anything from a 1 to a 20. In order to calculate the odds of success, we need to know how many of those 20 possible rolls would result in a hit. The easiest way to do that is to think about things in terms of the number we are trying to roll on the die. True, a goblin has an AC of 15, but since we're always adding our attack bonus to the roll, we don't need to roll a 15. Our total simply needs to be 15 or greater. So if we simply take the AC of the enemy and subtract our attack bonus, we can find the lowest number you could roll that would still result in a hit. If we roll this number or higher, we win. couple of ways to find the total number of rolls that would result in a hit, but I think perhaps the easiest way to think about it is by simply removing any attack that would result in a miss. In our goblin example, with an AC of 15 and a bonus of +5, a 10 or higher would result in a hit. So we want to remove everything below 10, everything below our target number. So if we simply take the 20 possible outcomes, subtract the target number, and then add 1 back in to account for the fact that you can still hit if you are exactly equal to the target AC, you can find the total number of outcomes that would result in a hit. Divide that by the 20 possible rolls, and you have found your odds of success. Now, there is one added caveat here in the form of critical hits. If you ever roll a 20 on an attack, it does not matter what your attack bonus was or what their AC was, you will automatically hit. And the same thing works in reverse. If you roll a 1, you will automatically miss. Ignoring the insane implications of having a 5% chance to instantly succeed or fail on literally anything you try, this does mean that you have a slight chance to hit seemingly impossibly high ACs and a chance to miss attacks that should have been a guaranteed success. Now, if this seems like a lot of work to do every single time you attack, I agree, but don't worry. I'm like one of those cool teachers who lets you bring notes to the test because they know that memorizing things in the age of the internet is a joke. So I've done all the math for you and compiled it into a helpful chart. Just find the AC of the enemy across the top, go down to your attack bonus, and you can find your odds of success. I've even color-coded it. There's a link to the spreadsheet with all this information down in the description below. So, after all that, what is the answer to the question from the top of the video? What are your odds of landing an attack on perhaps one of the most basic enemies in the game? Well, consulting the chart, the odds of a level 3 fighter successfully hitting a goblin with an AC of 15 is 55%. And that is absolutely insane. Let me explain. Now, you might be thinking, hey, 55% ain't too bad. It's more than half, which means you're probably gonna hit. And that's true. But only just. Let me put that into perspective for you. I'm not sure if you can tell based on the videos on this channel, but I play a lot of Pokemon. And in Pokemon, there's an attack called Focus Blast, or, as it's often affectionately referred to by the community, Focus Miss. This attack is notorious for missing all the time, and even though it does a lot of damage, a lot of players will avoid it because it's simply not reliable enough. And Focus Blast has an accuracy of 70%. Low-level Dungeons and Dragons is like playing through Pokemon, but the only attack you can use is Supersonic. And why is this such a big problem? Well, I'll admit, I'm not a game designer, but I do play a lot of games. And I think there is one very simple principle that this system violates. Doing things is fun. When you've basically got a coin flip chance to do literally nothing on your turn, yeah, that kind of sucks. Hell, missing an attack in Baldur's Gate 3 sucks. But at least you still have 3 other characters who can still do things. In D&D, half of your turns are literally just going to be, okay, I'll attack the goblin there. Miss. Now, there is a very simple fix for this, but first we need to talk about the other mode of attack in this game, saving throws. There are certain spells and attack types that don't require an attack roll. Instead, it's on your opponent to roll a d20. They get to add their saving throw bonus to the roll, depending on the specific stat that the spell targets, and are trying to meet or beat your difficulty class, or DC. The math works exactly the same, just in reverse, and basically just swaps all the colors around on our table. Also, in the core rules of the game, there are no critical successes or failures on saving throws, so some spells might be guaranteed to land or will always miss. But I know a lot of people choose to add that in anyway, because they love anarchy and want to watch the world burn, so I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. So, say you were a wizard casting the spell Burning Hands on the same goblin. At low levels, your spell save DC is probably a 13, and the goblin gets a +2 bonus to dexterity saving throws, so your spell has a 50% chance of working. However, I don't have as much of a problem with this. See, since spells are a limited resource in D&D, the designers decided to make them a little bit stronger. For most spells in the game, even if the target succeeds on the saving throw, they still take half damage and avoid any additional effects. So it's not a total bust if you miss, and if you know your enemy is low, you can reliably guarantee a KO, which from a tactical standpoint, I think is way more fun. Oftentimes you'll hear people say that spellcasters are way more powerful than martial-based classes in these games. And I think this is why. Even if their attacks fail, they still get to do something. You still feel like you're playing the game. So, how do we fix this? Well, I think the answer is pretty simple. Just take every armor class in the game and lower it by 4. Across the board, all monsters, enemies, and yes, even the players drop that AC down low. That same fighter now has a 75% chance to hit that goblin, which honestly is still kind of low. We're still in focus miss territory, but when you're using a d20, you can't really go much higher than that without making the die pretty much pointless, so it's fine. From a tactics and gameplay standpoint, I think this makes the game way more interesting. If you know that you are probably gonna hit your enemies, and they are probably gonna hit you, then you can actually make plans and strategize instead of just making massive gambles every turn that only work half the time. Now, admittedly, yes, this will have some side effects on the balance of battles. Martial characters will be able to kill enemies a little bit faster, and the enemies will also be able to kill the players a little bit faster. You can compensate for this by increasing the health of enemies and players a little bit, but honestly, I don't think that's necessary. You'll often hear people complain that the combat in Dungeons and Dragons is boring and slow. And I think a big part of that is because you spend half the time doing literally nothing. By lowering ACs across the board, you're not really changing that much about the battles themselves, you're just trimming out all that dead space. Gone are the days of sitting around doing nothing, waiting for your turn to do even more nothing. Instead, we can cut right to the heart of what makes these games perhaps the purest expression of the most human desire, which is playing with rocks and watching numbers get big. Until next time. And a massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon, including Alakazam, Aspa102, Big Dog Tie for to Win, Captain Kirby, Sidian, Sherry and Mark, Stylish, The Boss Killer 94, Tricks of Crows, and did you know that the character limit on the Patreon name is very high? Well, it is high enough, in fact, that I could name myself M. Thanks, M.